Cactus friends, it's Jenny from Cookies Cacti. I am here, I actually drove all the way from Chandler out to the West Valley to Bill's homes. Bill we spoke to at the Desert Botanical Spring Plant Sale, and he's going to show us around about his pottery and his process and even some of his setup. So
awesome. Thanks for making that. It's almost a day trip for you to come across the whole valley to come out here. So I appreciate you coming out and taking the time to interview. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
So at first, this is my outdoor studio. It's my garage, obviously, and at nighttime, this is full of garages, and daytime, it's my part of my studio. So I do have a wheel here. I do not do a whole lot of wheel work, just because I like the asymmetry of hand building. But I do some wheel work, and I find it fun, relaxing, kind of therapeutic. But it's probably about maybe 5% of my total pots are made actually on the wheel. About 95% are hand builds. So.
Oh, I see. So you have this set up actually kind of high so that you can stand?
Yeah, I did have a stool here sitting, but if you sit here for hours, you just get hunched over, and it's just more comfortable and ergonomic if you're standing.
Okay.
At least for me. I think most potters that do it for long periods of time, many hours, they prefer the standing. Over here, part of my process is, most of the pots end up getting a oxide wash. So these are the different washes that I use to make it quick and simple. So these are full of different colored oxides like black, red iron oxide, cobalt oxide. So these are how I actually get that color on the pot. I'll dip the pots into this and sponge and wipe them off. So I have a efficient process there in getting that done, and my floor is a bit of a mess. I try to keep it clean because a lot of them are heavy metals that, not great for your health. So I try to keep it clean, and that's, one of the dangers of the hobby or profession in ceramics is you work with so many different materials, and a lot of them can be detrimental to your health.
Toxic. And then I noticed that you have some pots already on this shelf, and then also a shelf in the back.
Yeah, we can go to my inside studio here in a minute, but when the pots are done, they're almost completely dried. They come out to the garage to finish drying. So these are still in process. These are a little bit wet still, not completely dry. The pots, the clay has water moisture in it, which makes it, you can work with it, move it around, and shape it and turn it into whatever your imagination desires. Before you fire that pot, it has to be 100% bone dry, no water in it, because once that pot reaches that 212 degrees, that we all know is our boiling point, it puts out that steam and starts bubbling. If there is any moisture in that pot, that's when the pot's gonna crack, or if it's got a lot of moisture, it can actually explode in the kiln. So that's the lengthy part of the pottery building business, is waiting for that pot to be completely dry, no moisture whatsoever.
So we have one thing that works on our side, living in Arizona. It's extremely dry, so that kind of helps.
I talk with potters that are on the coast that, they make a pot. Okay, this is gonna be 2 or 3 weeks. I can put this pot out here, and it's in this garage in this dry heat. I built this 2 days ago, and this is actually dry. I can tell by feeling it, the temperature and just the weight of it. That is ready to be fired, and that's 2 days ago I made that pot.
That's so funny.
It's pretty darn quick, and which is nice turnaround, but it can be detrimental too, because if the pot dries too quick, complications can happen there, like the pot cracking if it's just drying too quickly. Just so happens I did a glaze fire yesterday, so part of our video today, when we have time, we can open this up. It's under 100 degrees now, so I can unload, so we can get a little preview of what's in there.
Cool. Looking forward to that.
So yeah, that shelf over there that I showed you that we just videoed, that comes out of my home studio to those shelves to finish drying. And then the shelves you mentioned over here, these are kind of my staging area for the next to go into the kiln.
I see. So you kind of have a process of where you're moving the pots with time. Gotcha.
So that keeps me on schedule, keeps me to the commitments on the, the custom builds that I have and timelines I've promised there. I keep things very organized and in process in different stages. So this kiln is finished with the glaze fire, so I'm going to open it up, I'll unload it today, and I'll go right the staged
Okay.
shelf right there will go right into the kiln and fire, and then I'll be glazing those tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, so those guys will be moving to the shelf at some point.
Yep.
Okay, got
So I'll
it.
look at my customs, my commitments, and I'll pull what I need to come off of there, and I'll put it over here. So it's a continual, perpetual
Yeah. It's a very nice
cycle.
system. You're so organized.
Organized. Yeah, that's the business background, operations background in me is organization and structure. So I can tell you a little bit more about that later too,
sure.
as we're talking about my background.
Well, should we continue the tour and then let's
Yeah.
chat more about,
Yeah,
you know, if folks are interested, you know, a lot of you do know Bill's work, about how they can find you and where they can
I'll show you
purchase
some
your
of the tools too when we come back out here.
Whoa, what's that? So we are standing, is this your studio?
Yep, this is it. This is inside studio. So
Whoa.
this started out as really a workout room where you can see a treadmill,
Right.
treadmill and a stationary bike. So those got moved over to the side that my wife uses every day, and the rest of the room is a pottery studio.
Oh, I like that light that you've got.
Yeah, that was a barter trade. People have asked me how they can get it, but the guy kind of disappeared. He's off Instagram, so I'm not sure what happened. I hope the best for him. I hope nothing happened, but he's just gone.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So everybody knows that, you know, it's Bill Lindsay of Spines and Clay. He's got the Instagram, which is right there, which I'll put a link in the description below, and then you can see his website there, which I'll also put a link in the description below. But on the shelf, we can see a number of pots that look like they're completed.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep. So this is kind of my storage area, and it's a little bit bare right now because I had a Palm Street sale last week that took everything off the shelf. So super, super grateful to Palm Street. That's it was Plant Story. They just rebranded to Palm Street. But I had somebody on Instagram reach out to me last October and says, you have to try out this new app. I was so busy. Of course, I was in, my corporate role, and I had committed to do the Desert Botanical Garden spring sale, so I had a lot of work to prepare for that. So I'm like, yeah, I'll check that out as soon as time allows me to. So I went on, downloaded the app, and I'm like, man, this is a great, great platform. But I just did not have the time to commit to it properly. So once Desert Botanical was over, I got back in contact with the Palm Street people and got their support and how to set up. I mean, they're incredible group of people that will sit down with anybody and teach them the platform, sellers that want to get on there. But I was very fortunate. Jeff, thank you. I'm going to give you a shout out here.
Yeah, no, Jeff is great.
Yeah, he's been instrumental in supporting me, getting me there, giving me tips. But I've had a couple of sales now on Palm Street that are just, having 100 people in a live auction, commenting, talking, discussing about your pots. Of course, purchasing your pots it's an amazing platform. I really enjoy Instagram because I can, interact with all my followers on Instagram and sell there. Of course, there's no seller fees there, but the seller fees with using an app like Palm Street completely pay for themselves because it's just the logistics of collecting payment down to just hitting, a couple buttons to get a shipping label to print out with 0 errors there in transcription addresses or anything. It's fantastic. Let's see, last Sunday I sold 90 pots, included the giveaways I did during the sale. And I packed that all up in about 5 or 6 hours, which seems like a long period of time, but
for that many items, that's crazy.
Many items
that's
to
great.
pack up, in a safe manner that, they're gonna be in UPS and in the post office, not have any breakage. It would have taken me twice that time to do that through Instagram because of, having to communicate, collect payment, who's paid, who's not paid, making sure I have everybody's address is correct, double checking so there's no errors in shipping. It would have taken me twice. So I saved, essentially 6 hours.
That's really interesting because my viewers here are probably fairly familiar with Plant Story because I did a video a little while back on being on the buying side of Plant Story, which now they've rebranded to Palm Street. So you'll hear us using the term Palm Street and kind of going back and forth between Plant Story and Palm Street, but they're exactly the same thing. Plant Story became Palm Street. And it's really interesting talking to Bill because he's on the other side of Palm Street. I'm on the buying side, you're on the selling side, so it's really interesting to hear your experience because from a buyer side, I really love the app. I'm on there all the time. I've purchased plants. I still owe my viewers a giveaway at this point, but it's really great to hear that it's a consistent experience on the buyer or on the seller side.
Yeah, well, I'm on the buyer side as well.
Okay,
Because,
you're on both.
yeah, full disclosure, the only bad thing about the app is it's very addictive.
Yes, I'm on there all the time. Even if I'm not
know.
buying stuff, I just like leaving it on.
I know. Well, that's what I'll
the
do.
time.
I used to just listen to music here while I make pots, but now I'll set my phone in front of me while I'm making pots and just turn auctions on and just watch. It's tremendous learning because you're learning from all these people.
Yes.
And I've recently caught the aroid bug, collecting, philodendrons and, other house plants. So I'm learning quite a bit there, and it's addicting because I'm like, oh, I want that. And it's just a one-touch button, and then you own that plant. So it's very streamlined, very easy. But you have to keep yourself in check too.
Right. On both. The funniest thing, I think I was watching Jumanji John, another.
Yeah, he's entertaining.
Yeah, I don't buy houseplants because I can't keep them alive, but I like watching the channels. But he was live selling plants, and he had an iPad open also on Palm Street, asking another seller who was live trying to buy crystals from him, I think, and it was so funny.
Yeah,
you're selling and buying at the same time.
Some of these sellers are so entertaining that you can just watch just for the fun of it. And just I've been on some lives, some of the really entertaining sellers where NWE John.
I'm familiar. I'm on there all the time watching them.
He's so entertaining.
Yeah.
And he's one of the reasons I'm on Palm Street as well. He became friendship. He bought some pots from me, and he's really encouraged me to jump on as well and support it and give me tips. Yeah.
That's really great.
But he's got sometimes, 200, 300 people on his lives, and it's still just seamless.
Do you feel a community amongst the sellers, even of Palm Street? Because I feel like everybody knows each other.
Well, they work
and they're
together.
Really
it's not really a competitive market because they buy from each other too. Like Jumanji John, he jumps on and he'll buy stuff from John at NWE. And I'm like, this is great. They're supporting each other.
I watch, I think, Yaya's plant shop all the time, and I saw her show up on Jack and Amy's channel for Thorn Oasis, also buying things. And it's just really fun to see all the sellers helping each other out, and also genuinely interested in what their community has.
They give each other
available.
shout outs too. Oh my gosh, did you see so and so last night? She was so hilarious.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned Yaya because I just made a commitment to get her 25 pots, and I just started kind of putting them up here on the top shelf. But
so these are for Yaya?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sending her 25 pots next week, and she is going to put cactuses and other plants in there and sell them as a combination deal. So
are we doing a preview of what we'll Surprise, surprise.
So that collaborative community there too is something special.
I like that. I like that. I just see everybody. It's just such a fun community. Like, besides how great the app itself is, but I know we're spending a lot of time talking about Palm Street, but it's a genuine comment from both myself and from Bill. Being on both. Well, I guess you've been on both sides, and I've been on the buying side.
Right. But, So I saw you looking at this.
Cool.
This is one of my more popular designs. I just call it the Crater Series. But this got picked up by Frank Lloyd Wright. I met the executive director while at Desert Botanical, and she's like, oh, I love your stuff. Come out and see me. So I did.
This is a vase, right?
Yeah, this is a decor vase. So that whole bottom shelf is stock for Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation. And then these shelves are the next Palm Street.
Oh, preview.
Yep. So
definitely check Bill out. Eero Spines and Clay on Palm Street.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's a week from tomorrow is my next. I'm going to try to do every 2 weeks and try to keep it about 50 or so pots. And then I have another batch of small pots that I've been giving away. I'm going to do that again on this next one.
Oh,
so
geez.
Those are in process.
Can I
This
take a
is my
look
drying
in there?
room. Yeah. Help
Oh,
yourself.
this is your dry room.
Yep. So when I'm done with the pot.
I see your new obsession. Look at that.
Yeah,
Not
that's my
cactus.
Yeah.
Oh, but there's some cactus
Yeah,
here.
there are cactus in there. This whole shelf behind you used to be, that's why I have the lights up here, used to be a seedling for cactus succulents, and it's been overtaken by pottery. But I still very much into cactus, but I am catching the houseplant bug.
So are these pots that you've like finished recently and are sitting in here drying out, ready.
Yep. So my process when I'm done with a pot,
Yeah.
I'll turn around. These 4 I made this morning.
Okay.
So these are brand new, fresh pots. I haven't even finished yet. There still needs to be, drainage holes put in those. So, and then once I'm done trimming, put my stamp logo on, putting drainage holes, they will go into this room.
Okay.
And that's I can kind of monitor how they're doing, how they're drying. And then once they're dry enough, I'll take them out of here and then move them out to the garage to finish. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So you build on this table right
Yep.
here.
Yep.
You finish it, you put the pots there first,
Yep.
then they move into this drying closet here.
Yep.
Once they're ready, they go out to the garage and so on and so
That's
forth.
the process.
Oh,
Never-ending
cool.
cycle.
Cool.
This is my glaze
Oh, so this is
station. So I mix
Jeez.
all my own glazes. Of course, when I started like any potter does and use Mako and Amico. I don't use those very frequently anymore. There's a few certain glazes I'll still reach for, but for the most part, I mix my own glazes.
Oh, so these are all yours.
Yeah,
that
so
you-
everything in the
Oh, wow.
printed labels are all,
All yours.
yeah.
You have the neatest setup. It's so everything's so like neatly organized. And like
That's
my
part of
place
my
is just completely a disaster.
Business operations
Yeah.
background. Everything's
You're like really well
in its
disciplined
place.
and
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah. Even my test tiles. I got
Wow.
this idea from test tiles from Zenanda Arts. Yeah, he's been a good friend and mentor. But yeah, he gave me the idea of just cutting a piece of clay, putting a magnet on it and sticking it on something metal.
Oh, I
And
see. So you can see it really
yeah.
easily.
So when I'm here glazing and I'm trying to get inspiration ideas, I can just look over and
Mm-hmm.
go, I'm going to use this one and that color. And
I recognize these labels because
Yep.
you've shipped pottery to me and you have that all over your boxes,
Yep.
which keeps in theme with the way that you package your pottery is also very neat, clean, just so well done.
hundreds of pots
In awe.
shipping every month. Grateful. Thank you for the support. But last year I only had 3 broken pots, and one of them literally had tire tracks on the box. I'm not even kidding.
Somebody ran into it or
It
something.
looked like
or-
it fell off a truck and got ran
Wow.
over, honestly.
Okay.
And then this year I've had 2 broken pots, unfortunately, and one of them, the box was just smashed. So
Destroyed. Okay.
when you're dealing with that volume, you are going to have breakage.
Mm-hmm.
If you buy a pot from me, I guarantee it's going to show up. If it's broken, I'll replace it. I'll refund you, whatever you want to do. And then, of course, I started
Lots
with
and
theme.
lots of- yes, lots
so
of
I have
stickers.
20 different stickers and
Oh
I
my
keep
gosh.
organized. Everybody that buys a pot from me, I put their Instagram handle or Palm Street handle on a spreadsheet, and I'll go, I gave you, and I have them all.
You keep track of what you gave to people?
I do.
Oh my
I'm a
gosh!
nerd.
So no one will get a duplicate.
No, you won't
Your
get a
customers
duplicate
will
unless
not
you
get a
ask for
duplicate.
it. So
that is crazy. And I mean, crazy, amazing.
Yeah,
That's like
so-
that's such great customer service.
I know
Oh
when
my
people
gosh.
have been very faithful because they'll have all 20 of my
Yeah, like I
stickers.
wanna
Because I'm like,
collect them
okay,
all.
now they've got them all, so I can start giving them duplicates or.
You even have a list for me then of probably
do.
which stickers you've
Yeah,
given me. Oh my
I do.
gosh!
Yep,
I'm in
everybody's on a
Bill's
spreadsheet. Yep. And it's good because I can see how many people have I
Yeah.
sold to. I think I'm at like 700 or 800 different unique people on there.
Oh my gosh.
So
That's incredible. It makes like I've always been a big fan of all your work, and I love purchasing from you. And this just makes it like another few levels up to put that much care into paying attention to your customers. Really,
yeah, it's
incredible.
fun. So I can make a pot. Do you want to do that?
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, y'all. Bill is going to treat us by showing the process, like an example of his process of building a pot up from scratch.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Let's do it.
Let's do that.
Let's
So,
do it.
as I was making these this morning, a couple of these are already sold, and I was going to do a couple on the Palm Street next auction. Well, these will probably be ready in 2 weeks, so not the next auction, but the one after.
So you're going to show us an example of
Yeah.
how you built.
So
and
I'll
for
make
those
this
of
pot.
you who have watched my plant sale, this is his industry trade secret that he's going to reveal to us. So I'm incredibly excited to see how you do that.
So it is a technique. I'll preface with it came as an epiphany to me as I was watching somebody make rosettes out of butter for a meal.
What?
And they were using a serrated knife and scraping the butter into these patterns, and I immediately I could do this with clay. So it's something I've never seen done by another potter in the numerous, thousands of hours of YouTubes I've watched, and I've never seen that technique, so I think it's something unusual. So I'll put it out there in the world. Give it out there.
I never
and
would
let
have
other
guessed the
people
butter
play with that
knife
technique.
was the secret.
Yeah, well, I expanded on that too. 'Cause
Okay.
I started off with a serrated kitchen knife. My wife's like, "What are you doing with that serrated knife?" And then I progressed. So let's just jump right in. So
Okay.
I got tools. So
Let's see this.
what I've done in the many iterations I have is taken a serrated saw blade
Okay.
and I epoxied it to a piece of wood to make it a workable tool.
Okay.
So that's the tool I made.
Okay. So
and
you
of course,
hold it easily, right?
being me and overdoing things,
made-
I've done different pattern saw blades, different lengths. So I made many of these tools, and it's basically just a Sawzall blade
Gotcha.
epoxied to a ruler.
Yeah, it just makes it really easy for you to hold on
Yeah.
to it, right?
Problem
So
solved.
secret number one is right there.
Yep.
All right, trade secret number
The
one.
trade secret
All right.
is out. All right, so
All
I'll
right,
set
let's
up
see.
here. So I build everything on this banding wheel. It makes it nice, simple, easy to work with. So for this, I will use this B-Mix white clay.
Some bag of clay.
I'll actually use two
More
bags.
bags of clay.
Quicker, more efficient. So just give me a second to set up the tools I need here. The way I'm going to start out with this pot is building kind of a foundation pot to put the texture on. So I'm just going to stick to the theme of,
Oh, you're weighing. There's a little scale there. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're weighing it.
so a lot of my pots, most of them I will weigh, so just for consistency, I know what sizes they're going to be and kind of have some control in it, but you really don't need to weigh it. But so this is going to be just a foundation pot because I'm going to make some slabs of the textured clay and actually use this as a foundation to put this on. So just a basic pot, I just open that hole up.
Okay.
Some people when they're hand building, they use their thumbs and fingers
Yeah.
and get in there. I take this tool and it saves me all kinds of future arthritis and time. What this pot is going to do is just give me a foundation to build a pot upon in different
Okay.
layers.
I see. So you start with the foundation.
Yep.
And then you build on top of it to get the really cool textures and
yeah.
shapes and styles.
Most of this is even going to be sacrificial because I'm going to carve most of it away actually.
Okay.
I started off with 1.5 pounds of clay here and open it up. I have a bisque piece just to help position
I see.
the pot on.
I mean, it literally took you maybe a few minutes or something.
Yeah, just a couple minutes. If I'd probably be quicker here if I wasn't trying to concentrate on what
And you're
what
talking
I'm
and stuff.
saying.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm just using this rib to put this, just marking this up. And what this is doing, this is adding surface area to the pot. So when I put the slabs of clay on here that are textured, they're going to bond to
Right,
this easier
right.
because there's a greater surface area, and then all these crevices are going to hold each other
Right.
together.
Instead of two smooth
Yep,
surfaces, right?
yep,
Yeah. They
absolutely.
try to stick together.
Yep. So that's my foundation
Okay.
there, and then I will start creating some texture to add to it. So I'm just going to start with a full block of clay. This is how the clay comes in a bag, 25 pounds.
Jeez.
This
Pottery
is,
makers are all really strong.
yeah, we're throwing around
Yeah.
25 pounds of clay, 50-pound boxes all day long.
Yeah, and you had that entire pallet of clay in the garage a moment
Yeah, I
ago,
just had
so-
a pallet of clay for the month delivered in my garage. It's 2,300 pounds. It's right where my wife is going to park when she's done with work, so I'm going to have to move that after we're done with the interview. Find a place to store that clay. So, 25 pounds of clay, I put it on here. I kind of pushed my palm into it
Okay.
and made it uneven, so that adds to the texture that's going to be happening.
Okay.
And then I take my tool, and this is where the magic happens here. Just by the scraping.
What? This is what creates that crazy texture? I had no idea that this is how you would build it. Oh my gosh.
So I kind of made it look easy there, but with any new technique you're trying to learn.
Yes,
the right
because
angle.
you've done it many, many times.
Yeah,
that
the
you
right
can
angle, the
do
right
that so
pressure.
fast.
So
Right.
I'm sure people will go out and try it, and they'll be like, how did that happen? It takes practice. The first time I did it, it didn't look right.
So you saw that butter rosette
Yep.
that did
somebody
something
made,
like this?
Somebody
and you're
made
like,
a
I'll try it
flower
with
out of
clay.
butter with
Okay.
a knife. And I was like, I can do that with clay. And then I did it, and I'm like, oh man, that looks like a reptile. And then it's kind of morphed into that. So then this gets put onto this pot, and I'll do the same thing. I'll
Okay, right.
create some texture. This is going to be above the pot, so I'm not
Okay, that
gonna.
doesn't, right.
Yeah.
And for the look, right? You want it smooth on the inside.
Yeah. And then I'll just take a brush and I'll just put some
Okay.
water on here. And this is going to help bond the pot and the textured material. So there we
So
go.
this is how you do it. And you'll just repeat that process again?
Yep, repeat that pot process until you have a complete
What?
pot made.
I never would have guessed this is how you did it.
Well, I've never seen anybody do this technique before. You know, I've seen some kind of folding before, but never really a scraping. So it kind of gets stuck to the tool there, and I
Yeah.
just slide it off with a scraper.
You just build it one piece at a time.
Yep, one piece at a time. So that's the time-consuming part. Of course, when I started this, I was not making pieces that come off the scraper that look like that.
Right,
It
and you
was-
had to try over and over
yeah,
and over
but
again.
now I'm pretty consistent.
Right.
Now that I said it, the next one I'll mess up on. But I very, very rarely get one that is like not meeting. So then I'll get a little bit of overlap there, because when I make the pot and stretch it out a little bit and start shaping it from the inside, I want to make sure that there's overlap.
Oh, this is starting to look like that.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's
that
coming together.
definitely is. That's crazy that reptile-looking pattern comes from that knife, serrated knife.
Yeah, a saw blade.
But every single pot that you are producing is done by hand.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Every single piece. So basically, you're, those of us who are purchasing pots are purchasing art.
Yep. On this one, I kind of beveled the way I was holding the tool.
Okay.
So I scraped where it was just a smooth texture.
Okay.
And it kind of gives a little bit of different texture to it than all that kind of reptilian serrated texture. Changes it up a little bit.
I think it's incredible that you're sharing this with us, because I imagine most people are probably pretty protective of what is their trademark style.
What I think about that is, I think when we were at Desert Botanical, I told you, that's my secret. I don't want to give that out. But, the more and more I build, I want to keep evolving. So I'm not going to be building this pot probably
Forever.
a year from now.
Yeah.
Well, consistently. I'm not going to be making, 5 of these in a day. I'll probably play with it on and off, but I want to continue to evolve and find new techniques and interesting things to keep me interested, and then keep, the people that are buying my pots interested.
Right.
So
sometimes when we buy these styles, it could be that one of the few phases of having that style available, at least for a period of time, right?
Yep.
Later on, you'll be evolving and moving on to other styles, and so sometimes what we have could be a pretty limited edition, even though we don't say it that way, but it could be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've done styles before in the past that people ask me for now, and I'm like, no, I'm actually kind of a little bit embarrassed of that one. They'll find on my Instagram. So, when you first start out, and then you're like, the artist is always their own worst critic, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, that pot's horrible. Why do they want that pot? And they'll ask me, can you remake this one? I'm like, I don't want that back out in the world. So I will kindly say, would you rather have this? I can do it with that. And I'll kind of guide them in a different direction and say, this is what I've kind of changed that up. And so
awesome.
we got the whole top done. I just need a couple more pieces to finish the bottom off. And what I really like about this pot style too is that building it upside down like this, you get a really neat finished bottom that is kind of unique.
I see.
So that extra detail.
Right, so it's not, what is it? It's not like the, last thought. It's actually the final, finishing point of the pot.
Yep.
Rather than an afterthought.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some of it has to be intentional too, especially when you're doing the bottom, because I put a stamp on the bottom, so I have to be intentional about having, a smooth spot as I'm building it to be able to put a stamp on. And then you always got to have the drainage where that's going to go.
Right.
And everybody, no matter where they get a pot from or who they get a pot from, should always inspect their pots for proper drainage.
Right.
I think everybody that's selling in our community, they do an exceptional job. I mean, they're all experts.
Right.
But I've seen some floating around there that are just, they don't have adequate drainage. Or they're a unique pot that has a drainage hole in a place that's not the lowest part of that pot.
Right.
So you're gonna have standing water in there.
Right.
So a quick, easy check on that. If you're repotting a plant, fill that pot up with water and see if there's any standing water in there. If you have a unique kind of odd-shaped pot and you fill that pot up with water, it should completely drain free with no standing water. If there's standing water in there, then that's a concern.
Right.
You probably want to be very careful using that pot.
I also like it because I think you also scrape away, what is it? You know, instead of just having a pure flat bottom, there's a little bit of scraped away area for the water to go, because if you have a pot that only has a hole and it's completely flat and it's on a flat surface like this, there's nowhere for that water to go, right?
Yep. So, yeah, very intentional. Take a tool to create those channels.
Yeah, channels.
That wick away that wick away that water.
Right.
Yeah, because if you're on a flat surface, water your plant, and there's nowhere for that water to go. If there's a hole there, they can trap it in there. And you know, there's some believers too that think that those channels, you know, let the pot breathe too, because it creates airflow underneath. And
that's true.
So that
look at that
is the pot. I don't know how long that took. I'm sure you can probably time it in your video.
Well,
so,
okay, here comes the torch.
Yeah, I'm gonna torch. So right now I'm very gentle when I put it on there, not to disturb the texture on it. My hands are dry. If my hands had any moisture and I touched it, I would put a fingerprint on it immediately. So to kind of safeguard the texture on here, when I turn it over and finish the pot, I'm gonna heat it up to preserve that texture on there so I don't lose that texture.
So it kind of hardens the outside a little bit.
And that is probably enough. So that kind of hardened up just enough. I mean, if I pressed hard, I could still put a fingerprint in it, but it's enough to where I can touch it without ruining that texture. So this is the part. It's going to be the bottom of the pot.
Okay.
Flip it over carefully. Remove the hump mold there. And now the pot's starting to come together.
Okay.
So in a very rough state there. So we had this pot that we attached the pot to. So what I'm going to do is just take out the portions that aren't needed anymore, because that's kind of a foundation.
That explains why your pots are so thick. They're really thick and heavy.
Well, this is
a lot of clay.
On this particular pot, you need them that way because you saw some of the textures I was creating here. Almost 3/4 of an inch to an inch thick.
Wow.
To get that texture. You probably could do it thinner, but
so you would never know that there's actually two pots.
Yeah, that's when they're going to come together. Right now you see there's gaps in there, so I'm going to use this tool, and I'm going to use this tool to really connect this inner pot to the pieces that I added to it. And it'll all start forming together. Make sure there's no air pockets in there, so I do a couple times around.
Okay.
So I'm not pushing too hard on the outside, even though I protect it. Yeah, just enough to where that tool can really help marry those two together. All right, so from there, we're still in a pretty rough looking inside of the pot, so still continue to clean that up. So I'll use this other tool and kind of get rid of the seams inside. And
are these tools specifically for pottery making, or just stuff around?
Yeah.
Okay, it is.
Yeah, a shout out to, I use this tool every single day.
Okay.
Hassan Tools.
Okay.
A shout out to him. He makes some fantastic tools. Extraordinary potter, and if people are in California, I think they can take lessons for him.
Oh, cool.
And he's kind of a legend, especially at tool making. So I have everything a little bit smoothed out, but I still have quite a bit of that extra pot in there that I really don't need.
Okay.
So what I'm going to use is this little loop tool.
Let me just remove.
And I'm going to remove some of this A little bit too much there. But I'm gonna remove some of this, and this is that interior pot, but if I remove it, the pot's gonna dry quicker, it's gonna take off shipping weight, it's gonna increase your plant and root space. So essentially this pot that I started with the foundation is gonna be sacrificial at some point.
A lot of it will be removed, right?
Yeah.
It's really there to hold the structure for you to build the outside.
That's it.
Right. What kind of clay is this?
This is, it was Aardvark or Laguna. I think it's not marked, so this must be Laguna B-Mix.
Are there, I mean, besides color, are there different types of clay that?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's clays, Laguna, they have, I don't know, 50 different clays.
Okay.
This is probably one of their most popular. This is probably the one I use the most because it's most versatile.
Okay.
But there's clays specifically made for hand building, and there's clays that are made for wheel throwing. There's clays that are made for sculpting specific. So, and Laguna and Aardvark are both very good at describing their clay and their best usages, and they'll tell you how much moisture is in them, how much the clay's gonna shrink. I think B-Mix is like about a 15% shrinkage. When that water dries up, all that space that the water was in that clay, it shrinks down. Yeah, it goes away. So this pot may be 6 inches tall right now. A week from now, it's gonna probably be 5¼ inches tall.
Gotcha.
So that's one of the challenges doing custom work, because people will say, oh, I need a 10-inch pot inner diameter, and you really have to understand the clay that you're using, the shrinkage that's going to happen there, and to be able to get spot on, you can't build it and say, okay, I built a 10-inch pot. You got to accommodate the shrinkage that's going to happen.
So when you've been doing the Palm Street lives, where are you filming out of?
Right here.
In this room.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I put the camera
right
in
there.
and I have a little light that I bought. Yeah, it's sitting here right in the room. That's why the signs that you showed are kind of strategically put there from behind my live.
So you said your next live is going to be next Sunday, right?
A week from tomorrow, yep.
Do you have a schedule for after?
I'm going to try to do every 2 weeks. Sunday seems to be working for me. I've gotten a lot of feedback that Sundays work, and it works for me and my family, so I think I'm going to stick to every other Sunday for now. So with that scraping out and just the unevenness, there's some gaps and some holes here. I'm just taking other bits of clay and just kind of filling it in and reinforcing it. And I can fine tune it a little bit later as I put the drainage holes and stamp my stamp on it.
I'm already thinking about the title of this video. So like, Spines and Clay shares his trade secret.
Trade
secret revealed.
I hope people enjoy seeing how complexity of things can look easy. I mean, like I said, scraping on that.
Yeah,
people are probably like, that's it.
I can imagine
but,
how hard. You made it look really easy because you've done it so many times.
Yeah, yep. So that's pretty close. And as you can see at the bottom, I intentionally did a little thicker piece here so I can put my stamp on it.
Ah, I see.
And then I'll kind of go around the edges and make sure everything is connected well after I stretched it out with that sponge inside. See, there's pieces here that are kind of coming down. And make sure they're connected well.
Lots of attention to detail.
Yeah, and then as I'm making it too, I'm thinking, okay, how's this best staged? Sometimes I'll change things and add texture, remove texture, but this one came out well. I think it's a good angled stage.
Wow. I never thought that we would get to see how you build this amazing kind of style. So cool.
Yeah, awesome, thank you. So you have to tell me how you want it glazed. This is yours.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah. You drove all the way out here. This is going to be my gift to you.
Oh my gosh.
Think about it. And let me know. You got 2 weeks before I fire it. But I'll glaze that one.
Oh my gosh.
And I'll ship it to you as a gift for coming out this way.
Oh my gosh. Thank your generosity. I don't know what to say. It was like when Kenny gave me those plants on the house.
Oh,
and
really?
then you gave me a discount on the pots. I speechless when I did the haul. I was like, I don't know what
well, we
to
have
say.
to take care of each other in this
Thank
community.
you. Gosh, thank you.
so that's the process, making that pot. I don't know, we're probably under 30 minutes there, but then, you know, I'll come back tonight, about 5 or 6 hours, I'll come back and I'll poke. I'll take a tool and put the drainage holes in there. I'll take my stamp it, and then I will kind of fine tune because it's still a little rough. I'll make some fine tune, smooth it out a little bit. And then I'd go in the drying room for about that pot, because it's about 1 inch thick at some spots. I'll probably go in the drying room for about a week, 10 days.
Okay.
And then I'll fire it, a bisque fire, which allows you to glaze. So I'll bisque fire it, and that hardens the pot enough to accept glaze, to where if I was to put glaze on this pot as it is without being fired, you'd lose the texture and it would just become a mess. Okay. So you fire the pot, make it hard enough to where it will, not hard enough to where it closes all the pores and the glaze won't adhere, but you fire it to a certain temp where they're still porous and you can work with the pot and glaze it without you know, damaging it. And then you put it back into a glaze fire, which I fire at cone 6, which is 2232 degrees, I believe. And then that locks that glaze in and creates that final pot. So 2 firings there. So it's a long, lengthy process. So you have to have patience as a potter.
So from making all the way to when that pot arrives on your doorstep, it's quite a decent amount of time.
Oh, it's weeks,
Yeah, it's a week's amount of time. Right.
And that's just the physical work, not the time I learned how to and doing it, which is part of it as well.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Yeah. So with probably 100 hours of practice, you too can make your own pot like this. Yes.
Yep. And of course, then there's the endless chores as a potter. So, like I said,
constantly cleaning,
cleaning up afterwards, making glazes. So there's a lot of resources online. You can go on and find recipes. Glazy.org is a great place to go, and you can find base glazes, and then you just can go down a rabbit hole from there. Okay. Because once you learn the chemistry, anybody that's interested in making their own glazes, tons of books out there. Learn the basics, you know, what a frit does, what silica does. There's certain fundamentals you need to learn there. Once you learn those, it'll make your experience much better. And then it's one of the parts that I love the most about pottery is, like, I can make 5 different pots and glaze them different, and they look completely different.
Like all these, right?
Yeah. So let me get an example. Like this pot.
I think I saw this one on your Instagram yesterday.
Yeah, this was super popular. This is a lava glaze. I don't know if you've got good light there. That I've been trying to make more lichen.
Yeah. That's like the first. Yeah, this is what I saw on your Instagram, I think just yesterday that you posted. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, so this one has come out really well. And a lot of it's manipulating those materials, like I said.
That's crazy.
Knowing it, understanding it, and then doing endless amounts of testing. So let's see, this pot is the same. Those are the identical same pot
same style, but the glaze is completely different.
How the glaze can completely change what a pot looks. Because if you saw these 2 pots together, you'd be like, not even sure that's the same artist. You know? These are all for Arizona cactus sales. I'm doing.
Are they? Wait, have they had your pottery before?
No, this is the first time I'm going to be delivering to them. I think next week.
So your stuff is going to show up everywhere around the valley.
So I'm wholesaling to them as well, and that's no glaze at all. Same pot.
That's amazing.
To each his own. There's different options. Some people are that true.
I love that. I mean, that would go with any plant as well.
Isn't it? I mean, that's just a classic. It's not going to distract from the plant. So if you got a specimen plant that you just want all focus, this just looks like the plant sitting in a rock. Right. And to those purists, there's nothing better than that.
Oh, and you can show those little grooves I was talking about. Yeah, you see how on the drainage hole there's a groove here for every hole, so it allows a path for that water to escape. Yep.
That's why I'm so passionate about the glazes, is because that just adds a whole nother dimension to the pot. This was my first, which I just...
Oh, that's so nice.
Took a syringe and I put it into the cracks of the pot.
That's so cool.
So it's time consuming.
Yeah, right.
But it cracks and does that. Do you want to head out there and check that out?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. All right.
I never thought that buying some pots from you, starting from, I don't even remember when I bought pots from you, that I would be at your home looking at how things work.
I would have never imagined 3 or 4 years ago that I would have people over here, looking at art that I've created. It's surreal.
So cool though how
yeah.
that works out.
But
all right,
this is
see,
my
what do we
glaze
do?
making station.
Okay.
So
okay.
again, try to
Oh
be
my
very
gosh, look at all this.
organized.
I don't know what any of this means. It looks like a bunch of colors
Yep.
and chemicals.
And then my secret recipe book.
Whoa, I love that. So you had the ones that were inside and you have these ones on the outside. Are they the same thing?
No,
or
these are just the raw materials that make the glaze.
Oh,
so
and inside is where you've already created
yep,
the glaze.
those are all
see,
finished
I
mixed
see.
glazes inside. So
Are these just colors? Or?
that is raw material. So this is copper carbonate. So
Okay.
that is, some of these are very costly as well. So this is not a cheap
Wow.
thing to get started, but it's cost savings rather than buying commercial glazes once you make this initial investment.
Right.
And then you're at the mercy of supply chains on all this stuff.
Yeah. I can
So I
imagine that.
posted, like, somebody made a meme about the feldspar with being related to like drugs, because people are kind of trading it like as drugs, because this mine that creates feldspar went out of business, closed down. Now potters are like, how are we getting feldspar? And that's one of the bases for many, many, many glazes.
Oh.
Every time it happens, potters adapt. They find
Something else.
substitutes for it.
Something else,
Yeah. So, but you have to be very mindful if you have a glaze that's working for you and your business depends on it,
It may not
to be
around.
very
right.
intentional in making sure that you have all the ingredients and have
Right.
sources to where they're not going to be disrupted. So that's where all the glaze magic happens. And then we have a kiln that I
Okay.
fired, and I peeked in here, but I have not opened it up any further. So let's just dig right in.
Oh my gosh.
This is a custom pot.
I figured it's probably
Yep.
custom because it's so big.
Yeah. So I typically,
Specific.
I don't make many large pots. Like this is a 12-inch pot.
Jeez.
I don't make many of them without somebody requesting it.
Yeah.
Just because I don't have the space to store them, but
Right.
it's a big pot. So I'm
Wow.
super happy with how that glaze came out there.
So you mentioned about custom pots. Do you accept custom requests, but
Yep.
maybe a certain number of them, or you just
Yeah,
let
like
them
I said,
know
I try to
that you're doing-
balance.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be creating requests for people.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes to me, I just want this one-off. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I almost say yes almost
Okay.
every time. But I've had people come to me, okay, I'm repotting this spring. I need 20 pots. And I'm like, well, let's start with a few.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
Or if they understand the time expectation, you're going to have to wait a little
absolutely.
bit, right? Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
This is cool. This is going to be on Palm Street.
Oh, cool.
So this is a red clay that I put
unusual.
a black slip over the pot before I fired it. So slip is just, I took the black clay and added water and made it really so I could paint it.
Mm-hmm.
And I painted on the edge of that pot, so it's not a glaze or anything. It's just two clays that make that.
Oh,
so,
interesting.
yeah.
That's very interesting.
So nothing else on that. No oxide washes or anything. That's just a raw clay. Shout out to Advancer kiln shelves. These are metal shelves that are like a fraction of a normal shelf that you would use it with a kiln, but costly. But if glaze drips on them, you just knock it off. It is amazingly efficient. I've recommended them to people that say that it's changed their
I see.
pottery career.
I see. Oh, another
Different shape.
example.
Yep.
Yeah.
Different
Really,
shape,
really
same
interesting.
clay.
Ooh.
So this, which I've talked about on Palm Street, was a dark blue underglaze that I mixed, and I put a black glossy glaze, and it comes out with this metallic kind
So
of
unusual too.
obsidian rock-like look to it. So this is super popular. This is actually a custom. I made
Another
two because I
one?
made one either I'm going to keep for myself or sell on.
Okay. That's the
Palm
other
Street.
thing. Do you make pots for yourself these days?
I do. My collection was largely decimated by
It's terrible.
rodents. We have wildlife here, even though my backyard is block fence. Rodents, even coyotes, I mean, snakes, everything, which is great. I mean, we built a house in their
Right.
in their
Right.
in their
Understand.
desert.
Yes.
But I put my cactuses out there, and rodents just had a field day.
jeez.
So,
There's that glaze we were talking
yep,
about.
another custom, because you said you saw that on Instagram. Somebody else saw it. And
Yeah,
they go,
yeah,
I want
can I have
that
one?
and a
Yeah.
taller, and that's a custom pot.
Cool. Two more.
All right.
Ooh.
That is a fun texture.
Nice and tall, so really good for
Yep.
like the taproot plants.
Yeah, so this one I take a crawl glaze and I'll actually glaze the entire pot with the crawl glaze. And I'll take a sponge and wipe the whole pot down, just leaving the glaze in the crevices.
Well, okay, so this is that style that we were
Yep.
looking at.
And this is the first
today.
one I've done is a hanging pot. So
there's holes in it for
there's holes drilled
ropes
into
and
it.
stuff.
Yes, this one I did a blue cobalt wash, dip the whole pot in, wipe it off, and then this is a blue crawl that I put on the rim to add that texture to the rim.
So cool.
And then this is going to hang from, I think somebody said they had a tree or something, so that'll be hanging with whatever plant they put in there. One more shelf.
Oh, there's more underneath. Oh, look at that.
You thought that's it? Okay, we're all
that
done.
tricked me.
Oh, I forgot, that's the first time I've used that orange too. I'm just going to grab that one because that's grabbed my eye.
Whoa, that's
So-
unusual.
This is the first test pot I've done with that orange, and I just lightly brushed some green
Yeah.
over it, so it just
Whoa,
wasn't
that's-
overpowering orange.
Very unique.
Isn't it?
Very unique.
Yeah, totally different. Might not be everybody's cup of tea, but if you
Very
like orange,
interesting.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. And then another custom, somebody liked that glaze, so I made him an
yes.
8-inch pot.
I like how people are like, I like that. Can you make one for me?
Yep.
Wow.
I love that turquoise under the black. So this was also a custom. Somebody wanted that color.
You have to go in and paint. Like,
I did.
each
That's time
individual-
consuming.
Yeah.
Yep. First you make the pot individually, hand forming those craters in there, and then you have to go in. And it's actually, this is a layered glaze, so there's 2 glazes.
Gosh, yeah, that
So-
looks like a lot of work.
Yeah. I like the way it turned out though. It's nice and clean. This was that green glaze I said.
That's awesome.
The first Palm Street, I gave away 30 of
Oh
them.
my God.
The second one, I gave away 25, and then these are actually part of that giveaway.
Oh, for the next
So yeah,
one.
so
I
I'm going to give
see.
away 25 again
Oh
in a
my
week.
gosh.
So
What do people have to do to enter the giveaway?
on the 50 pots I have for an auction, if you win an auction, I draw raffle tickets. My daughter helps me in the
Okay.
Palm Street. She'll draw a raffle ticket. So essentially, if there's 25 giveaways, you have a 50% chance of getting your ticket pulled and
Okay.
winning. So
It's like the reason alone to participate. It's so interesting. Kind of that lava
those are fun.
look. Look at that color.
That cobalt blue, although it's not really a natural nature color, it's still, one of my customers called it blue cheese, and they still do. Every time I post the pot, they're like, blue cheese.
cheese.
But
Well, that's one thing wonderful about this is, as we said last time, you have something for everybody.
yeah.
Whenever this is a nice neutral color, then you've got those bright colors, which just suits whatever you're into. There's
Right.
something for you.
So this-
I love these.
I'm really excited about.
I love these.
For the fact these are basically test tiles for an oxide wash. So this is my standard wash
Okay.
right here, and I added something to get it a little bit darker, and that totally achieved what I was going after. So yeah, one small ingredient change
Makes that big
in
of a
that
difference.
wash makes that big of a
Right.
difference.
Oh, we've got one more, yeah.
Yeah, last pot. This is
Big
a custom.
one.
Yep.
Man.
And this was going to be a surprise to the person, so this will probably be delivered to him before the video comes out. So Galena Seeds and Spines, when you see this, you'll already probably have this planted up when you see this video.
So we were mentioning inside about how heavy those blocks of clay are, and this is how it gets delivered to Bill in a big old pallet.
Yep.
How many pounds again was
That's
this?
2,250 pounds.
Oh my gosh,
Yep.
your floor is still staying.
Well,
you know,
I feel bad for the guys because I end up having to help them push up because you can see my driveway is slanted, so they always
Yeah.
have their hand carts. And I don't care how big of a guy you are, 2,200 pounds trying to get up, so it's usually both of us doing everything we can to get it into the garage.
Yeah, so that's the pallet. So this is the beginning of all the pottery that, if any of you are purchasing
That's
it,
how it starts.
this is how it starts, in a box on a pallet. And then it turns into all these amazing pots that we just looked at.
That magic in between.
last time when we spoke at the Botanical Garden at the sale, you were saying that you have now converted to full-time in the pottery business now,
Yep.
right? So, but you came from a professional background prior
Yeah,
to that.
yeah. Let me just give you the 30-second kind of interview. Tell me about yourself and your background question. So I started off in healthcare as a RN. I hate to say how far back ago, but it was in the late 90s. Worked many years in the intensive care, ICU, trauma center, burn center. Really a rewarding career there. 20 years in that, really get burned out, and I was looking for something different. I ended up in leadership in healthcare, worked, helped set up a level 1 trauma center, realized that my true passion was in operations of healthcare. Went and got an MBA, helped support that. I went on to manage operations in 14 emergency rooms across the valley.
That's crazy.
Spent several years there, very rewarding career, but just that 24/7, 7 days a week, burned out completely. So I needed to do something different to give myself a break. So I went into pharmacy operations. So I worked for the biggest pharmacy in the country, working in compounding pharmacies operations to where we were servicing patients in home settings. So we were compounding medications to be delivered to homes for nurses to go take care of patients at home. So again, very rewarding but demanding career. And just the pressure, constant pressure there, it just takes a toll on you year over year with that amount of responsibility, caring for patients. Loved it, very rewarding, but I started doing pottery as kind of therapy after I started collecting cactus. I started collecting cactus as kind of therapy and plants to, have a hobby that took me out of the stresses of the job. And then I started making pottery, and I was like, wow, this completely transcends me, takes me completely out of the business mindset, takes me away from work. And then, I started getting better and better at it, and people buying my pots. And now I got to the point where, okay, I can take a break from the corporate life for a bit and just focus on,
that's
life
incredible.
instead of focusing on life and family and doing pottery. So that's the stage I'm at right now, and I couldn't be more grateful.
I bet there's a lot of people who could connect, even including myself, because a lot of our jobs are very high pressure, and so these cactus and succulents and the pottery, and then for me, cookies cacti is also my bit of escape. Right, a relaxation.
We all
time.
need those escapes.
Yes.
Fortunate, I'm gonna be able to do this, start focusing back on health and getting back in shape, and so it's an exciting period of my life.
That it definitely is.
Yeah.
All right, well, I want to thank you, Bill. Thank you so much for allowing me to, and us, all the viewers, to your home, to see your process, to show us your trade secret, which I still think it's completely crazy that you were able to, or willing to share that with us, which we really appreciated. Some tips and tricks for those folks who might be interested in getting into pottery. So I really want to thank you very much for this. It's Bill and his kiln. Yep.
Well, thanks for making that drive out and the time for the video and editing the video, putting it out in your amazing YouTube group. And
thanks to the audience. So you can check out Bill, check him out on Instagram. I'll put all the information below. Check him out on Palm Street, which used to be Plant Story.
I think I got feedback on the last auction. My wife was helping. She was pushing the button start even before I had the pot up. So sometimes people were bidding on a pot that was just a picture. They didn't even see the pot yet. So
that's so funny.
I'm fine tuning. I will get better.
So funny.
I'll try to continue to do giveaways, make it more entertaining, fun ideas there as I grow on Palm Street. But catch me there at least every 2 weeks. I'm going to try to do some random lives too that are unannounced. Just for example, today opening a kiln and just auctioning things off out of the kiln as it comes out. So that'll be fun too.
Sounds really fun.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bill.
Thanks. I appreciate you.
All right, y'all.
Thanks.
Take care, y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.